Is it worth buying North Navigator Pro instead of the North Navigator bar? My name is Petar Pavlovic, and in this episode I will share my experience with both bars. I will tell you the difference I felt to help you decide whether or not to buy the Navigator Pro. I have been using the Navigator bar since 2020. The Navigator bar didn't change much in the last 3 years. Honestly, I love the feel, comfort and simplicity of the bar. Over the last 3 weeks, I have been testing the North Navigator Pro bar. As most of you probably already know, the main difference is that the front lines automatically untwist as soon as you untwist the bar. For someone who loves to do lots of rotations and kite loops during their sessions, this feature is amazing to have. This was the first auto unwind bar I have ever used, and the sessions definitely feel more relaxing and fun. Not having to think about which side to turn the center lines and spending unnecessary time is a plus. The Navigator Pro itself looks very nice to me, since I'm not a fan of colors of the Navigator bar. I love that the left side of the Navigator Pro has red dots to make it easier to identify the left side in case your lines are twisted. The grip of the Navigator Pro is stiffer but still very comfortable. The Pro bar is definitely lighter than the Navigator bar. The lines are thinner, making untwisting the lines easier and faster. Note, the front lines need to be perfectly untwisted before connecting them to your kite. If you don't pay attention on perfectly untwisting the front lines, once the kite is in the air, you won't be able to do anything about it. In my opinion, this can be a negative side, as sometimes you spend too much time untwisting the lines. But as I said, the Navigator Pro lines are easier to untwist than the Navigator bar. During the first sessions, I switched between bars back to back. Honestly, I had better jumps with the normal Navigator bar as I felt more power with it. I felt that the Pro bar was missing tension on the backlines, even if it was set to maximum tension. So I decided to add knots on the backlines of the kite, which made a huge difference, and I was finally able to properly jump.
Finally, it's working!
After using the bar for a week, the front lines got a bit longer and the backlines shorter. This made the bar work perfectly, and there was no longer need for me to add knots on the backlines of the kite. On the Navigator Pro, the steering feels much lighter and more responsive. The feeling of jumping is quite different, and I believe the reason is the thickness of the lines. The chicle quick release is stiffer and requires a bit more effort to eject it compared to the Navigator bar, where the chicle quick release is very easy to eject. In hard crashes, the chicle loop might eject by itself, as it happened to me once. I love Navigator bar because every part can be changed very simply and easily. On the Navigator Pro, it can be a bit more complicated to change the center tubes or the chicle loop quick release, but hopefully none of this needs to be changed anytime soon. All in all, I love having Navigator Pro for myself. If this episode helped you decide whether or not to get a Navigator Pro, please give it a like, and if you want to see more detailed description of the bar, check out this episode right here.